Hey, I really appreciate you watching this video. We are going to have an amazing time accelerating your leadership journey. And, I've been thinking about what makes this a conversation that people want to lean into. Uh, and I think it's more than just having a title, being a good boss, hitting your metrics, every month. There's something more intrinsic that's going on. And what I've realized is every leader that you and I know is hoping for the same thing. Uh, However they describe it, they really are seeking this idea of expansion. They want to grow uh, to the point where they can have enough room for the big, hopeful future that they're working towards and that they're waiting on. And unless and until we figure that piece out, um, we're just going to end up with exhaustion and an expiration date. And that's why I want to set the tone with this principle. And this is going to help you in life, whether you're just getting started or whether you're trying to mobilize new leaders for your mission. We have to figure out how to turn frustration into preparation so that way we lead differently and leverage acceleration. That's when you redeem the time. That's when you grow your team. That's when you begin to experience this phenomenon that we're going to be talking about. So, my brand is Pioneering Leadership. That's my core messaging. And I'm emphasizing the need for pioneering leadership in every organization, whether it's nonprofit, for profit, whether it's a family business, or whether it's a very large organization, even our institutions. We need pioneering leaders that will navigate and create the hopeful future. Um, when it comes to coaching, that core messaging moves into these two spaces. I have pioneer coaching for leaders, particularly entrepreneurs and executive teams. And then I also have pioneer movements, which is a really uh, near and dear place in my heart for um, the faith space. So, what I wanted to do is explain where pioneering leadership comes from, and then how do you actually do this? Because there's things in your heart that are not there by accident. And so you're going to have to figure out how do you actually pioneer it. And a very simple principle is you have to get clear on the the future, and then you're going to reverse engineer that future back to the present, and then you go and pioneer it. You just say, okay, I got a map. It doesn't tell me all of the specifics because we're gonna hit all of these obstacles along the way, but I have enough to move on. And that's my hope for you, is that this really does anchor your faith. It accelerates your future, and it shows you a clear path to make real progress in your leadership journey and in your organizational context. So, pioneering leadership, Jesus said to them in Luke 10:2, the harvest is plentiful, the laborers are few. Pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into this harvest. So, these are four big ideas that are going to create real momentum, and that is going to galvanize us towards leadership mastery. We start with the opportunity, we see the urgency, we step into that story, and then we inspire a community of others. Now, for your leadership journey, I want to help you move through these four phases. This is what I would describe as the framework for pioneering leadership. What does it look like to keep pioneering leadership in every generation? organizations have become dangerously outdated. We're seeing more leaders burn out, bail out than in any other time. And the irony or the tragedy, however you want to look at it, is that these leaders are having the most public, the most horrible uh, failures and really sins and crimes right on the heels of the biggest leadership boom that we've ever had. We've never had more leadership books, leadership conferences, leadership, you know, gurus out there. And so it really puts the fear of the Lord in my heart, because I'm thinking, man, what's happening? And I think one of the things that's been happening is that leadership has been popularized, and it's actually lowered the standard of what real leadership requires. So we've got to keep pioneering leadership for the future landscape, and we got to make sure that we're ready, not just futuristic, but that we're future ready. So my passion is to honor Christ by pioneering the future of leadership with reliable executive coaching that helps leaders prepare to expand into the new fields, field of business, field of science, field of education, field of, all these fields, media and government, all these different fields. And fields are very personal, right? What field of leadership are you being called into? Because when you get in your field, you're going to find the friends that you need, the people that really get you and want to work with you. You're going to find all of your insights and your influence is going to be activated when you're in that field. Your experiences become expertise. You're showing up as a leader, not just as a amateur, and your dreams are being fulfilled. You're actually deploying the purpose that the Lord has put on the inside. So I'm really passionate about helping leaders, really on all levels, but people that are faith-centered, future-focused, frontline ready, they're freedom-minded. They want to get deployed. And I think there's been a lot of content, a lot of conversations, a lot of conferences around personal development. But what about leadership deployment? We got to be deploying more people into their vocational calling, into their field, where they can be a part of a really big story. And we see that in Luke 10 too. So these are the 4 phases of pioneering leadership. They stack on each other, so we never really graduate, but instead we just keep growing, like C.S. Lewis said, further up, further in, that kind of thing. Simply put, the core is the faith-centered piece of pioneering leadership. It's humility. A lot of times we look at pioneering leaders and innovators and entrepreneurs and ideators, and we say, man, they can't get along with anybody. They're rogue. They want to do their own thing. And what I would just say to that is, it takes a lot of humility to launch out without a support system and without any guarantee of how it's going to go. And so I want to empathize with those that are on a faith journey, and you actually feel like, this is the path that you never planned on. But when you look back, it's like the only one that was really real. So it's the willingness to launch out again and again. In addition, that'll take us into the next phase, which is all about capacity. This is the future focus piece. It's realizing that you're going to get started in your leadership journey. You're going to launch out with a dream. You're going to be the first, in that field, and you're not going to have all the tools you need to build that future out. And so it's about staying focused on where you're going and what you're building and what kind of field you're cultivating with others in mind. And then you got to grow your capacity to make it happen. And so this is you figuring out how to handle more with a hands off approach. And that is counterintuitive, but absolutely um, the necessity. And so many become the chief everything officer simply because they were the first to think of it or work on it. And actually, there's a better way, and you have to learn how to lead differently in order to grow your capacity. The next phase is you have momentum now, you have launched, now you have scaled. Your work, your business, your community is sustainable and it's got real momentum. And now you are feeling like the collateral damage with all of the success. And so you're just surviving your own success. And that's when you have to learn how to lead on a higher level. And you do that by leveraging a team of leaders. And you actually have to phase out. Every one of these phases is, potentially a sticking point. What I mean by that is you get stuck. You're stuck in one situation. The first one is you're stuck internally, and you're kind of caught in between two opinions, and you don't know if you have what it takes to move on in your life in one way or another. And I would encourage you, you need the humility to launch out and to really go for it. And then in that other capacity place, you're stuck personally. You're trying to get the tools, you're trying to get the map, you're trying to build this thing without all of the ingredients yet. So you're building out your capacity as you go. This next level is professionally and organizationally, you need strategy. And I could talk about that more, but simply put, this is where you are a leader, but now you need a strategic approach, a strategic edge to get more leaders with you. And then that moves us into the last phase, which is a bit of a visionary phase, but this is where you are established. You're an established leader, and you have freedom. You have time freedom, and you have resources to go and do whatever the Lord puts on your heart to do. And now you have to be thinking beyond yourself, and you got to be thinking about the future, the next phase of your organization, your movement, your business. And it really is about investing in more ways than one. It's about investing in future leaders, and it's thinking about the culture of your organization. Does it have pioneering leadership in it, or has it plateaued? And then you're also thinking about the actual people that you're going to be trusting and transferring the organizational components to. And it does stack and it does repeat, because once you're in territory, you're like, wow, we've established this amazing field. We're the experts in our field now, but now here comes the future, and the future is expecting you to launch out again, and that takes humility, and you're back in this whole story. So that's pioneering leadership. That's the core messaging that explains how I think we can help leaders pioneer the future. But now I want to talk about the coaching side, and I offer executive coaching on many levels. I have a community, I have one-on-one executive coaching, and then I have a team-based executive coaching, meaning I'll actually work with your leader team. And it's not like any one is better than the other, but you have to know which phase you're in. And so what I've done is those first three phases, those are the entry points, and then we're all moving towards pioneering leadership. That is our aspirational direction together. So maybe you're in that ownership category. That's really what you need right now. You need to take personal ownership of your opportunities, and you need to own your own timeline. And you can't wait on other people um, to supervise you, or to support you. You've got to go for it. You've got to launch out. And maybe you're in that entrepreneurship phase and you have launched out, but it's just you, or it's you and a few, and you're still kind of in that wayfinding, workshopping time. Um, I offer one-on-one executive coaching for you. And then you are a leader, you're a business owner, an operator, and it's just hyperactive everywhere. And it feels like if you stop, then everything drops. I want to help you with your executive leadership. You're like, Peter, what does that look like? Well, I have specific invitations. Pioneer coaching is the one thing that I emphasize and that I help people with. So what you're getting is proximity with me, and I'll work with you. And I'm focused on leaders. I want to help leaders, care for leaders, um, you know, kind of the total package, right? The work life balance, but also the organizational and the strategic and all of it. So the first one is the Uncharted Way. That's my community. It's a private community for high capacity people that are on a leadership journey. And I'm going to help you um, really just work on your life planning and your leadership journey, working on your roles and goals. And I want to see you make uncharted progress in every direction of your life. And this is a very fulfilling thing for people in the community because they're seeing themselves take action, make meaningful decisions, follow up, and they've got an amazing year. They're living in that uncharted territory every single day. So, if you want to know more about that, you can look into that one. The founder journeys, like I said, is mainly for people that are learning and leading in the entrepreneurship space. But this really applies to many contexts, right? So maybe you're a church planter, maybe you're a podcaster, maybe you're launching a business, a family business, maybe this is just a side hustle, but you need that reliable guidance to cut through the landscape that feels very daunting. And I don't want you to get lost and lose your timeline. You have a short window of opportunity to really make progress in your founder journey, and I want to help you accelerate what you've already launched. And then for the executive forerunner, you might be the chief everything officer right now, or maybe you have a team but they're not cohesive. This is absolutely for you. I work with organizations of many sizes, and at the end of the day, I'm very confident that I can hear you out and help you make real progress on your executive teamwork. And the reason I believe that is because I've been in every one of these spaces for many years. So I didn't take time to share my story, but basically, I know every one of these journeys really well. Okay. Um, and then basically what this means is, once a year, you're like, what about Pioneer People? Once a year, I have a mastermind for my birthday. So that's what that is. And then I work with leader teams so I can be one-on-one, and then we can bring in leaders and actually build a lot of momentum that way. Or I'm happy to just join you in your founder journey and offer one-on-one executive coaching. And then the community, maybe you're not a leader in title, but you absolutely are on a leadership journey, then please jump into that. These offers are made prayerfully to help you prepare to expand into new fields. And so your next step is simply to take a free self assessment tool. I created it to feel like a quiz. It's called the Next Phase Navigator. You're going to learn about yourself. And so there's a big value just to go through it. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes. You're going to learn which phase you need to focus on right now in order to lead well in the next one. And then once you know which phase you're in, you'll have a better idea of which route that you want to take for you and for your team. And you can just apply for Pioneer Coaching. And then at that point, I'd be happy to, you know, filter and make sure that this is a good fit and see if I can serve you based on what you're hoping for. Okay. Thank you all so much for listening and leaning in. At the end of the day, I want you to be encouraged because that's how we stay engaged with the work of being faithful leaders in these many fields.